This is Carson Clutie, presenting on the final module, Module 14, as we go through this case study. A summary of this case study shows us that there was a teacher who was known for her rigor and discipline in the class load and the homework that she gave. Dr. Smith was the principal and had done a fine job in his tenure at maintaining high academic and social standing of his affluent district high school. The teacher, Miss Tate, had received emails and phone calls about how parents felt that her class was too difficult, and they also had shared their concern with Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith and Miss Tate have had several conversations about altering her style to possibly get a better student experience. Late one night, Miss Tate received an email with a link to a Facebook page where the conversation circled around wishing that Miss Tate would quote-unquote disappear, and there were also comments about her class being too difficult. And that leaves us here with several steps and options that we could take. First of all, in the problem identification, I think that there are two issues at hand. First of all, and these issues I want to point out are separate and distinct and really should not be taken into consideration when dealing with either one. The first issue is the threats, or at least defaming comments against Miss Tate. There was a Facebook page that was created directing comments toward the teacher, and there was a specific threat made about making her want to disappear. The next issue is Miss Tate's ability to teach and her capability. So several parents and students had expressed frustration in the amount of work and difficulty of the class. As I said, I want to reiterate, these are two separate and distinct issues and should not be considered when trying to deal with one or the other. So what are things that I need to know? Well, with the first issue, I need to know if there's any other additional plans made that would indicate a plan of action for the threat. Was it an empty threat, or was there a plan that the student or students or parents, we don't quite know yet, was there a plan of action to make that happen? And then after talking to someone who was involved in the technology and could tell who perpetrated the website, who made the website, was it one student, was it multiple, were there parents involved? Those are things that we need to know. And the second issue, again separate from the first, is that we need to know that had Miss Tate implemented any suggestions from the principal, and are parents concerned about the effectiveness of the teacher, or are they only wanting their children's GPA to be high? These are two different issues and things that we need to know about them. Identifying the problem. The first problem is that there's been a Facebook page that has been created that has directed harassment toward the teacher. The issue here is whether this falls under the protection of free speech, or does it constitute an actual threat? Do the police need to be involved? The second problem that I've seen is that I don't want to assume entitlement that comes with the affluency of the kids because it was not directly stated. However, I'll get into that a little bit later. It seems that the parents and the kids are upset because they feel the class is too hard and it might hurt their GPA, but it does not specifically say in our case study that she was a bad teacher. So here's my plan of action with the first issue. I'll go through the second issue after I've completed the first. So the harassing website that directed toward Miss Tate. First of all, I need to, first step, even that night or possibly right away the next morning, I need to consult the police to see if this warrants a true threat. If it does, it actually makes the school's job quite a bit easier because it becomes under the police purview, and we really do not have much, as a school, have much to do with it. Now, if it does fall under our jurisdiction, there are several more steps that need to be taken, but this first step needs to be analyzed the most because it really constitutes how the rest of the plan is going to happen. If it is a true threat, the police need to get involved, and if not, it is something the school district can handle. So step 2, if necessary, we need to talk to someone involved with technology to see if they can pinpoint whose computer made the website and who that person was, and possibly was it more than one person. After that information is found, and assuming it is William, Miss Tate said that she felt that William, a student that she has, may have been likely to be the one. So it's an early suspect, if you will, but nothing confirmed yet. But whenever the student is found, there's going to have to be consequences and conversations that happen. So step 4, I'm using William here just because we assume that it's him. That's what Miss Tate said. We're not given any other information. But William is clearly dealing with some entitlement issues, as yes, he made a specific threat, But he also made mention of the rigor of the class. Not that Miss Tate was doing something that was bad or terrible teaching, but that was focused on her rigor, how difficult her class was. So his friends will also be questioned to make sure that he acted alone. We don't want one person to be punished for what many people have done. We want to instill fairness in this and justice in our punishment. So continuing on with these steps, being that William felt this way, or whoever the student is, the goal of any punishment should get this student, or William, to understand that it is his actions that is resulting in him getting in trouble. It is not how he views Miss Tate's class, or even if he had been wronged in Miss Tate's class. Our goal through this punishment is to get him to realize that he is ultimately the one to blame for this. He took unnecessary and inappropriate actions to what he felt, was an injustice to him, but he did not respond in the correct way. So he alone is responsible, or of course the people that he is with. But there should be no buts or excuses that come with his apology. He acted, it is his own choice. So step 5, William's parents will be notified, and a copy of the apology letter that he will send to Miss Tate will be attached. In the letter, he will have to detail what he did, why he was frustrated with the class, and then he will have to take responsibility. Also, for the remainder of the semester or the year, depending on which, if there's an adequate time before the end of the semester, he will not be able to take his computer home. He will have strict monitoring. He will only be able to take it out to class when required, and he will be required to work on only school-related material. He cannot take it home. So the second issue, which is Miss Tate's class and the rigor versus poor teaching argument. So step 1, as a principal, Mr. Smith, or myself in this case, I need to spend more time in that classroom in question. That way it can be identified as if it is an issue of poor teacher, or is it tough material / tough teacher. The text lends itself, in my opinion, to believing that Miss Tate is a tough but fair teacher. If multiple parents are complaining, that means that she's not picking on one student. She's not specifically picking on William. She's tough on everyone. And it seems like their frustration is more that their GPA would suffer because it's a difficult class, and not that it would necessarily have to do with her, poor teaching style or anything like that. So I'm specifically referencing the website and the material that we've been given. But again, the site that the students made talked about the rigor of her classes, not how she did something bad. So the second step, and 2A, if it's just a rigor issue, Mr. Smith should express confidence and support Miss Tate and offer suggestions to, first of all, make the material more relatable. I think kids will have a better attitude if they can see the purpose of what they're doing. And second of all, work on relationships with students, and this would make things better in class. But I want to reiterate, I would support her for being a tough and good teacher. Step 2B, this comes through observation to see if it's a teaching issue, and there are steps in place that each district has. Step 3 here is conditional if 2B is the case, if it is something where her teaching needs improved. So the principal will give Miss Tate several things to work on to improve her teaching practices. She will have a year and several opportunities to correct this. If she does, she's in the clear. She's became a better teacher, and hopefully her issues have resolved. But if she did not correct her mistakes, she could be let go. So the plan of action reasoning, I have to justify how this is best for students. First of all, it inserts accountability. It inserts accountability because students cannot get away with doing things that are inappropriate on the internet. I think not only does it teach a lesson for those who were the perpetrators, but it also holds all the other students accountable to know that the administration takes things that they do online seriously. The second step, and this is one that I've been questioning myself a little bit, but it's a really self-reflection on if this was my district, who is at fault? Yes, we have to get William to take responsibility because we expect more of him. My question did the district prepare these students well enough in the realm of digital leadership? Digital leadership I use synonymously with digital citizenship, but citizenship I think is the same whether you're in the digital world or the physical world. So I like to use digital leadership because it's promoting yourself online in a positive way. So does this district have classes? I think we can still expect high things of our students and of these students in particular if they did not have a digital leadership class. But if they didn't, I don't know if we put the students in the best position to succeed. So we have to self-reflect a little bit. So if those classes are not there, then I think it is important for the students that those classes be implemented. And also it's best for students because we create a safe environment for taking action on things that could be considered a threat. And this is not best for students, this is actually best for teachers. But as an administrator, if you want a positive district, you need to take care of your teachers, and it shows teachers that the administration supports them through this. So these are the plan of action. This is the plan of action reasoning and why I decided to do what I did. So in a debrief, what was I thinking during this process? First, I thought of the safety of the teacher and other students. That's why immediately, or at least right away the next morning, there needs to be a call placed to the police to get their professional opinions on this. Is this a valid threat, or is it an angry 16-year-old, 17-year-old speaking their mind? There's a big difference on intent. Next, I went to my personal experience regarding parents and complaints, especially those in my first year. My philosophy on teaching is that I do a lot of project-based learning. It's atypical to what some people had experienced, especially if you're coming from, a math class. Not that math class can't be, but in social studies, I think I could do it with regularity. Several teachers and students wanted step-by-step assignments. How do I get an A? And that's not the kind of teacher I was, so I reflected a lot on those. But after talking to my principal and getting encouragement, he influenced me to continue the way I was teaching. So that led me to side side with Miss Tate in this category, or in this situation. So my initial thought was that the student needed a severe punishment, just expulsion. Out of there, he made a threat, and he does not need to be in school any longer. And this may still be, but I need to prove, again, their intent, their motivation. I calmed back down after my initial reading of the case study. My thoughts continued, and I mentioned this briefly, is that the final thought that crossed my mind, and it, even as I was working through this, is that there may have been a lack of education in the digital leadership realm. We always tell kids, here's what you don't do online. But as this district and all of our districts in real life, have we taken time to show kids what they should be doing online? Have we given them good examples? So it is 100% we can lay at the feet, and we can expect more of higher, better things from students like William. But we also need to prepare kids for adequately expressing themselves and being good digital leaders. So the values that I shared during this, first of all, respect for everyone. I wanted to respect the parent's opinion. I want to respect Miss Tate as a teacher. I do want to respect the student, even though he made a mistake. He's still a human being. He's still under our care. He's still our job, or it's still my responsibility to see that he gets a great education. So I think the first value that I hope to portray is respect for everyone. The second is leadership. I can't shrug this off. I can't send it to an assistant principal. It's something that's serious enough that if the police have to be called, we need to be involved. So I think fair and disciplined leadership would be on display here. And that brings me to the next point of fairness, where the student's punishment, I think, fit the crime. And I would take disagreement on that. Some people would probably say it needs to be worse, and I could hear that opinion. I understand. But I believe it is fair, as I've justified. And the final thing that I wanted to share, and again, I mentioned earlier, I want to bring it back to it, is loyalty to the staff. If I'm a principal, I want my teachers happy, because happy teachers are going to teach to the best of their ability. So I want to show my teachers that I'm loyal to them, that I'm going to stick up for them, and I'm not going to back down in the face of some parents. And I'm going to support them, if they do the right thing. So some unresolved issues, some things that still are lingering. First of all, I'm going to bring it up again, digital leadership among students. Do we have those in place to teach kids what to do online? The second one, the parental influence on the classroom. Have they had success in complaining before and changing grades? Have they had success where they kind of get together and bully a teacher? I also want to encourage positive dialogue through this. I think that it's a great opportunity for students and parents and teachers to all have a dialogue where if they get frustrated with each other, that's okay. That's okay if